Hello YouTube, it's me Aaron back at you with another transition related video. We all know that transition is good for some people, but probably not the best option for a majority of people. And I'm just going to break down why and go over the dark sides of gender transition and some of the things you can expect. If I'm scratching my nose, I have allergies all the time. But anyhow, I'm going to go in that some transitions are necessary. There are people like myself who were born feeling incongruent with my body. So that means that when I looked in the mirror, as a child and a preteen, and even as a young teenager, I always was so self conscious of having a larger forehead um, and a lot of different things I was very uncomfortable with growing up and being very young, but at that time not having access to things like YouTube or just being able to learn other people's transition stories. I had never met a transgender person, as a child or as a teen, and I do and have learned, I should say, that there are people like myself who go through situations where we experience what's called gender dysphoria. So that is a condition that's in the American Psychological Association's diagnostic manual, the DSM-5. It's called gender dysphoria. It's no longer called gender identity disorder, but gender dysphoria basically you it's cliche, but it feels like you're born in the wrong body. The reason when I did transition and looking back, well, the reason I didn't like my forehead was it was larger than a normal girl's. I had protruding brow bone. There was a lot of reasons, but I didn't know then that it was specifically because it was a non-feminine feature. I learned retrospective and hindsight looking back. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I was struggling with my gender since I was very young and was jealous of girls in my elementary school, my middle school, my high school, even some of my girlfriends. I did date women up till my early 20s and felt some jealousy. No ill will or anything. Just, I felt ripped off. And if you grow up with those things and those feelings and those incongruencies, mentally your brain is something else than your body. A gender transition may be a good thing. There are successful transitions. I feel like I've had a relatively decent one for myself, and I've been at this for over a decade, and I have a wealth of knowledge to share. So, without get this out of the way, gender transition is not something I recommend for most people. I actually don't think it's the best thing for probably 90% of people who are transitioning from 2010s forward with the social contagion, especially in youth and children and teens and even preteens. The woke agenda has been brought to our school system and the LGBTQIA plus community. It's a mouthful. That community has infiltrated our schools and is making the wrong impressions on impressionable children, and that's why the social contagion exists. What's if there's 2,000 students at a high school? 99% of people are not transgender, so less than 1% of that will be. So if you look at the math and there's a group of 7 friends that are all trans, statistically there should not even be 7 transgender people at that school. So we're seeing this agenda supported in the public school systems, and some conservative states have taken some action to try to get that out of the way, not allow it to occur as much, which is something I think is really beneficial to these children, because I do believe that, like someone like myself who transitioned as an adult, I allowed myself to go through puberty because I tried living my best. I tried living as a guy. I gave it a shot. These kids aren't even getting the chance to live out their puberties. They're not able to go through what their body is naturally intended to do, because they're either putting on puberty inhibitors or they're going on cross-sex hormones. And unfortunately, some get surgeries and they're not even 18 years old. It's important for a transgender person to live as the sex they were born as for long enough till they understand what is needed. But a 12 and 13-year-old children do not need to know about transsexuality, in my opinion. So the dark side, what to expect from family based on my experience with the trans community. So I've literally met hundreds of transgender people in real life, whether it's in transgender support groups or friends of friends. Over all these years, I've met quite a few. And I see a few things occur. I'm going to go over this. The first thing is that from family, based on my experience, is that my family is not very supportive as a whole. My mom and my dad are supportive, but as more years go by, um, and they're getting closer to their end of life as they're almost in their 70s, they're cigarette smokers, and their time is limited. And my mom is starting to have, so she won't say it to me, but she did tell my dad, who passed along, this little bit of gossip that my mom's family has kind of shunned her and my dad in a way, on both sides of my parents, my dad's family and my mom's family. I have cousins that won't really talk to my mom, um, like brother and sister-in-laws that don't support talking to my mother. A lot of my family just kind of cut my family out just in general, just because I'm a trans girl. And based off of that, you may see some acceptance, especially at the very beginning. People maybe think it's a phase, or they just want to show they love you and you haven't changed enough physically. They're still just able to see the old you, so they're able to hold on to, well, that, like for me, I live as Camilla, but I was still Aaron to them. I still looked like a guy. So they were supportive because they were seeing the relative they know and they loved. But as years went by, support dwindled and dwindled because I became to look like a person that they didn't know. And one of the issues I have with this is that honestly, I'm the same person that I was born as. I like the same things that I liked when I was a boy, living as a girl. I liked playing guitar. I liked the same bands, same colors. I love all the same activities. Nothing changed about me really, except my appearance. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that did change, but overall, I'm the same person, all around the same person. And my cousin, all of my first cousins, every single one of them, none of them talk to me. They've deleted me from their Facebook accounts. They don't text me on any holidays and haven't for years. I have a very awkward relationship with one of my male cousins, a first cousin, my mom's sister's youngest. He's 2 years older than me. And he almost, like, I could feel his energy when he comes to visit. I'll give him a hug because I always will welcome someone with open arms and treat them kindly regardless of how they treat me, because I always would like to be the better person. But with that being said, um, he has nothing to do with me. I moved up to Georgia, to Atlanta from West Palm Beach, and I've lived up here for over 4 years, and he's never texted me once. Um, he does interact with my mom and dad. My mom's sister and she has three boys, from like age 34 to like early 40s. And they all really love my mom and show her they care. But they kind of give my dad the shoulder colder and they don't talk to me at all. This is just one of my family members. Now, I'm an only child, so of course I don't have any brothers or sisters, so I really can only go on inferences I've seen. Um, I had a girlfriend, a partner, a transgender girl, and she had a little sister that was a couple years younger than her, I think 4 years younger. And her sister always saw my transgender girlfriend as still her big brother. She could never let go of my ex-girlfriend being that's her big brother. So she could never call my ex by her preferred female name, she would use her dead name, her male name, and can, she had children, and her children are asking my ex, well, why is auntie a man? And that my aunt heard, my girlfriend heard that and was heartbroken and didn't talk to her sister for several months because she was telling her sister was telling her children that auntie really is a boy. Now, for all intents and purposes, auntie, my ex-girlfriend, we'll just call her Jean. Jean was very she put up with a lot of bullshit just so that she could be a part of her niece's life. But just based off of all of the transgender people I've met in my life, a lot of their siblings don't want anything to do with them. Or if they do, they just see them as like for trans women, they just see them as the man they were born as. They still call them he, him, even though they've transitioned to female. And with that being said, some people seem supportive at first. So I have an aunt, my favorite aunt, my dad's sister, his only sibling. Um, she adored me my whole life. Was like one of my favorite family members. I was actually closer with her than my own mother at some points in my life, and she had a profound impact on my femininity and helping me in my life. And when I transitioned, she bought me like a Michael Kors purse my first Christmas. And as the years went by, the gifts became less and less, and I get less and less texts from her. It really hurts not having any of my cousins talk to me, not having really any of my aunts or uncles talking to me. Now my mom is irritated. Her brother has cancer. He's not going to live long. So she's in a foul mood, and because we've kind of been blacklisted due to my doing, my transition, my mom feels deprived of certain family members that have kind of cut communication with her. And that's not, so my actions in transition don't only affect me, but they affect my parents. They affect my immediate family. So it's very painful. And I have been in an inpatient psych hospital 2 times in my life because either I was cutting myself from depression, and I have been on antidepressants since I started my transition because the amount of rejection I experienced is unbelievably painful. It's so painful. It's so alienating. It's isolating. Um, with that being said, they seem supportive at first, but they kind of fade away till you're left with maybe just your parents. And it's getting harder. My mom's relationship is becoming more and more strained over the 10 plus years that I've been living as a female. My experience is that now that she's at the end of her life, her resentment comes out. She misses her son, and I'm an only child, and I deprived her of her son. And I try to explain to my dad when he enlightened me with this information the other day that my mom does hold some. I thought she was 100% accepting, which she is in a way, but she holds a resentment towards me because I transitioned. I deprived her son. So the reason my cousins don't talk to me, I deprived them of their cousin that they knew and grew up with. The same reasons my aunts and uncles don't talk to me. I deprive them of their nephew. My biggest issue is like I stated, I'm the same person. My heart is the same. I bleed the same blood. I have the same memories. Everything's all the same. But for people that aren't trans, they cannot see that. There's a really dark side to it. And if you cannot handle rejection, I've seen a lot of my friends or people I went to group with in my community unfortunately take their lives to rejection. They in their life, the depression becomes unbearable. I think almost every transgender person is on like some type of antidepressant. Maybe there's a select few outliers that are really happy. And I'm not dissatisfied. I don't want to come off in these videos as this is all regret. This is me trying to tell you and the people who are considering doing this is real shit. And I'm going to give you real shit answers. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything because I don't want to give you a false sense of hope and you do this and it fucks your life up. I don't want to do that. I am all for transitioning for people that truly need it and are deemed it medically necessary. And we all know you have to be careful with who is diagnosing you because there are some very woke doctors that will push their transgender ideology onto any patient. Pardon me. With that being said, it's difficult. It's very difficult, and this can ruin your life. I've seen a lot of people I know kill themselves. So it hurts to lose a friend knowing their pain. It's a shared pain. It's something you can empathize because I know that they've lost their friends, their family, and all of their memories are shattered. And the only thing we have left is to lean on to each other in the community, that being trans people. That's why there are so many transgender couples that both partners are transgender people because they're the only ones that can relate with them. Sorry, I don't know why my nose is so itchy. I'm using a new, I put like a little highlighter on the tip of my nose, and it's just so itchy. I apologize so much for that. So, and dating becomes complex. Like, look at me. I look pretty. I'm not trying to be vain or cocky. I'm told that every day I'm an OnlyFans creator. I'm a Fansly creator. I'm in the top 10%. I worked as a high class escort for many agencies over my 20s. I've interacted with tons of people. I don't get called he or him or sir ever. Never. Not in like a decade. So, with that being said, just because I look like a female, um, doesn't make dating easier. It definitely I'll match with like every guy, but when I go through and message them back, if I like, oh, it's a match, I'll swipe right, it's a match, and they've already liked me. I'll message them and tell them if you're interested in dating a trans girl or going on a date with a trans girl, they never reply. They see me, I look like a regular woman, a cisgender female, and they swipe right, they like me, and when they find out I'm trans, they don't respond. So it's a lot more complex because they think I trapped them because I look like a regular girl, but I'm a girl that was born a boy, and that doesn't make any sense. I completely respect that. If that doesn't make sense to someone, I completely get it. It's weird. I'm not gonna lie. It's weird. It's hard growing up this way. I do believe for true transsexual people who have a medical condition that it's beneficial. But with that being said, the woke agenda and the wokeness in this community forces you to adhere to being a liberal person. You are forced to support socialism slash communism slash supporting children transitioning, and of course supporting the Democratic Party. Because apparently you cannot be moderate or a Republican in the United States if you're transgender. Because if you do that, your own community will also ostracize you. So not only will you lose your family, you'll lose your family, your friends, now you're going to lose your own community. So this boxes people in and forces them to socialize. It forces them into socialistic ideology. And if you don't adhere to that in this community, you're blacklisted. I'm one of those people that's blacklisted. I have tons of friends on Facebook that will not respond to anything. They used to until they found out I have a more conservative mindset because it's like it's become this cookie cutter process where you transition, you become super liberal, and you post all these I won't buy Harry Potter merchandise or I'm not going to eat at Chick-fil-A or all this stupid bullshit. And it's like, come on. If you enjoyed Harry Potter as a kid, enjoy the books. People are entitled to their own opinion, and the trans community doesn't get that. And you can get blacklisted real easy by your own community. So sometimes it's easier just to interact with non-transgender people. All of my friends in real life are not trans, except one. And that's because I'm not woke. Not gonna be. At work, so at work, I legally changed my name and my sex on all my documents, including my driver's license and my social security. My name's Camilla Margot, and I am a female. So when I get hired, I never tell anybody that I'm trans. I've learned never do that. This is another dark side. If people find out, you will be discriminated against, and there is a good chance that that job that you have, they're going to find some bullshit reason to let you go. They are. If you transition and you don't pass, you're not going to get jobs at all. You're going to be forced into sex work. You are going to be, unless you are speak your mind on different platforms like OnlyFans or even YouTube. We have YouTubers like Blair White. Look at her, she has a nice car, big gun collection, probably lives very comfortably, and doesn't need the support of freaking socialist commies because she has made her own life. And so you can't expect work to go so easy, and if you have to pass in order to be accepted. If you don't actually look like a female, or if you don't actually look like a guy, if you're like a trans man, if you don't pass, no one is going to take you seriously, and you cannot get butt hurt over being misgendered because people, they just assume this person looks like a guy in female's clothes for the most part. Maybe he has long hair or a wig. You're a man to them. Stigmas. So, like, going into the bathroom is hard for a lot of transgender people when they're first starting their transition, and rightfully so. I mean, I wouldn't want to. When I started, I used the female's bathroom because I didn't want to get my ass beat. So there's a lot of things that goes into it, and like, it can be very putting pressure on you when you go out to shopping at the mall or the grocery store. A lot of transgender people will not use public restrooms at all. They feel like they can't because of the stigma. They all, and in all reality, it's more respectful to not use them when you don't pass or if you're not legally a female and using the women's bathroom. I would feel very threatened if some man in a pink shirt and pair of tight jeans comes in and says he's a woman. I would feel very threatened. So, there's a lot of stigma attached to transitioning. It can drive you to killing yourself. It can drive you to living in depression and anxiety. It can cause you to lose your friends. You lose your family. You can lose everything doing this. So you have to have a support system and build a support system. You don't, and the issue is once you try to build those, if you don't conform to socialistic ideology, you're also going to be shunned from that. So you eventually, if you're a conservative person that's trans, if your family has rejected you and your friends have rejected you, you will live a life of solitude. Living a life of solitude is lonely, and every day you wake up, you think about suicide probably at least 4 or 5 times a day. I can say that from my own experience. If it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't be here. I'm so grateful that they love me, and my mom truly does see me as a woman. So does my father. With that being said, my mom sees me as some other woman. I don't always get treated like her child. I'm treated like some other woman. Um, but she does love me and shows love, and she's going through a lot. But when people are stressed out and going through something, like, you really see their true colors, and it's hurtful. It's so hurtful. Needless to say, for me, transitioning, I've talked about all this dark stuff. Well, why do I do it? Well, for me, if I was to try to live as a guy, I know for a fact that I wouldn't live very long, and that I'm just right now working on myself. I'm not really trying to date. I'm not really trying to do much. I'm working on myself, because working on yourself as a trans person to have a successful transition and a happy life, you have to do more self-care for yourself than the average non-trans person. Probably like 4 to 5 times as much self-care and networking. and learning to not tell people you're trans. You can't have transgender LGBT pride in real life, especially where I live in the South. I live in Atlanta, which is a bit more liberal, but 15 minutes outside of it, you can't have, that type of ideology and actually be accepted. I can't tell my neighbors I'm trans. They wouldn't talk to my parents. It sucks. So I mean, but I get a lot of happiness from seeing myself and seeing all the progress I've made, and I don't feel like I made a new life for myself because I stated I'm the same person. I just feel like I've evolved, and I am very, very, very content with where I'm at in life as far as I've cut my losses and I've accepted them. And acceptance is what I'm going to close this video with. If you can accept your losses and move forward, regardless of what friends you make, try to build some type of support network. I mean, I hate to say this, but even a super liberal support group is better than no support. So at the end of the day, try not to be political. It's a politicized issue. When I started transitioning, it wasn't politicized at all. 10, 12 years ago, it was not politicized really. So this is the dark side of transition. I'm gonna do my next video will be the benefits of a transition because there are so many benefits, but this video is not to deter you from transitioning. This video is me being real with you. And because I'm being real with you, please give me a thumbs up and please like me. Please subscribe to me. Liking my post helps me a lot. It's going to help my algorithm and help me grow my channel. And I'm trying to spread awareness of what transgenderism and transitioning really is like. Regardless of how passable I am, life has not been easy. And this is the dark side. But the light side is coming up next. And there's a lot of wonderful things I have to share with you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate you watching. It means so much to me. And please comment if you liked the video. Thank you. Bye bye.